I have been freelancing for the past 10 years, and for majority of the time, I actually didn't earn that much. I earned on average around like 2,000 euros or just above $2,000 per month for the majority of my 10-year career. If we take a look at, for example, this sheet, I started freelancing in 2015, and as you can see, I barely earned 1,000 euros, and then just a couple of years later I'm still kind of just earning not that much. This is a bit of an outlier, but only things started shifting in 2021 and took a major different hit in 2022. So for the majority of that area, I was kind of stagnating at around, if you kind of combine, look at what I earned from 2017 to like 2020 for 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even like 5 years, I was just sitting at around like comfortable 2,000 euros per month. So I was stuck, as many other freelancers are, until I actually did something else. But before, I actually want to list a couple of things that I think are crucial to know why people are actually stagnating and not earning more. Because there are a couple of key things that everyone should be definitely aware about. So first of all, I just kind of wrote some notes here. Hourly billing and limited hours. Hourly billing is probably the biggest killer of you earning more. Again, there's only 24 hours in a day, and it's not like you can increase your hourly price to whatever you want. There are people that charge like $1,000 or $10,000 per hour, but these are very specialized people for a very specific thing. If you go to any freelancing platform, you'll see that usually people cap out at like maybe $200, $300 per hour. And even then, there's far and few in between of those kinds of freelancers. And in general, if you only charge hourly billing, there is kind of a big ceiling limit for you, and clients are not really that willing to hire very, very expensive freelancers, especially if you're not doing anything niche. If you're just a graphic designer but you charge like $300 per hour, many clients that would work with you on a fixed price budget wouldn't even consider you. So it's definitely one of the biggest key killers for people stagnating and just earning around 2,000 euros per month. Then we do have a lack of like scalable offers. If you only offer one-time projects or very simple things like a logo, or if you offer like a keyword research or whatever that you do, those things usually take you a certain amount of hours. And if you cannot offer like 5, 6, 7, 8 of these things per week for 8 different clients, then it's not really scalable. That means that again, you might get quite a few clients, but then if you get like 3-4 clients, you're basically capping out your hours of what you can do. So creating services and offers that are more scalable, meaning that if you get like 10 times more clients, you can still deliver that. That is also a way of how you can scale your income. Another interesting thing I found is that people are kind of afraid of raising prices and do feel that imposter syndrome. And believe me, I felt that for a very long time. I didn't feel like I could raise prices. I didn't feel like I was worth it. But what I found is that most of the time is just inside your head. And when you make that switch, it becomes more easier. I mean, that switch is not easy to make, but it's definitely one of the reasons why people are stagnating, because even though they can increase prices and they should increase prices, especially if you've been freelancer and if you have a lot of expertise and if you have been receiving very good feedback from your clients, then it's very likely that you can increase your prices. But many people are afraid of doing it. They feel imposter syndrome, and well, then you don't get to scale your income that way. Next is people are really not thinking about value-based pricing, is where instead of providing one-off service like just a brand book or a logo, people need to focus on how can I constantly provide ongoing value and service to that client. If you can figure this out, it's a lot easier to scale your income, because that means you can have X numbers of clients at 2,000, like 5 clients at $2,000 per month. That's $10,000 per month if you package your offer right, if you provide value, and if you manage those services so that they don't consume like 50, 60, 70 hours per week. Then people do stagnate because they operate in areas like freelancing platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, where it's kind of a race to the bottom. There is a lot of people just undercutting you, offering kind of the same services or similar services for very cheap or very low hourly rate. And usually clients that come there also kind of expect to save a couple of bucks. So just by being there, you will be stagnating, because you will find it very difficult to find clients that are willing to pay for your services. And so, you're just kind of undervaluing the services that you are providing because you are on these freelancing platforms. If you go off of them, well, then your competition becomes, you kind of don't have competition. In a sense, there is a big caveat here, but when you're applying to Upwork jobs and they have like thousands of applications every single job, and believe me, I do know, I hire sometimes people on Upwork, and the amount of proposals I receive is just insane. But if you go off and you go try to find clients, through other means like personal branding, LinkedIn, even cold calling or cold emailing, you are approaching them, and they might only get a few offers there, just like that. So you are definitely sort of undercutting everyone else and sort of competing somewhere where there isn't that much competition. Another thing is lack of specialization or niche positioning. I've seen so many freelancers just position themselves as just a graphic designer, a paid advertising specialist. Those are way too broad. You need to actually think about who is your ideal or target client. If you're a graphic designer, do you work with gaming companies? Do you work with e-commerce shops? Do you work with book offers? You need to specialize and position yourself for a specific industry or a specific type of client that you want to attract. And then, first of all, there is a lot less competition, because if you work only with book offers and you do like paid advertising for them, well then, no, the clients that are book offers, they're going to be way more willing to work with you rather than just any other graphic designer or paid ad specialist. So first of all, you are kind of making sure that you stand out. And then if you get a lot of case studies, if you build a big portfolio with these clients alone, you are gonna stand out from the crowd. And this way you can actually start charging more for your services because you are an expert in that area. And then, you are not stagnating at that $2,000 per month mark. Another thing is why people stagnate is that they don't really build any pipelines where clients can come to them. We already talked about some of these points, but this is just poor client acquisition and marketing. You don't do any website, you don't share portfolios, they don't really spend time thinking about how to gather clients, and just work from one client to another, sending simple proposals, looking at job listings and just stuff like that. So if you're being very passive in that sense, well, you are never gonna break through that $2,000 or $3,000 per month mark, because you're just gonna go from one client to another, and you're not building a sustainable pipeline where clients can actually come to you. And then a lot of people depend on specific platforms, which is not bad when you begin freelancing, but at a certain point, once you actually reach that $2,000, $3,000 per month from freelancing, you need to start thinking about how can I separate myself and have different ways of getting clients. So you can still work with freelancing platforms, but you only need to get about 20-30% of clients from there, so that you can actually get clients from other means. And if you're diversified, then you're not dependent on whatever the Upwork will do next day and what other changes they'll introduce, which might actually really hurt your freelancing business. So what did I do to break free from all of this? First is the pricing. So I stopped charging hourly rates. I switched to fixed price only. That's the first thing. Then I started offering only monthly ongoing packages as a service, and only looking for long-term clients. And in addition to that, I switched to value-based pricing, where I position myself as bringing a certain value to a client instead of doing them a task. If you are a developer and you build websites and your main position is I build websites, I manage websites, well, then there is no value behind it. You're being paid for the task. But if you try to think of what is the actual value that the clients want from my services, how can I push that instead of just saying I do X task for X amount of dollars. And the next most pivotal thing that I did in my freelancing career is I just stopped looking for clients on freelancing platforms. When I detached myself from freelancing platforms, I actually started earning a lot more. I started networking. I started joining paid communities. I invested a lot in my personal brand. I created my personal newsletter, which I actually made a whole video. I'm going to link it in the description, where I just talk about how I earned I think over $70,000 from a newsletter that only had 100 people on it. I invested in my website. I sort of really pushed my portfolio. I did LinkedIn, either organic sort of posts and stuff like that, or cold emailing, cold calling people. I'm trying to do YouTube, and actually several people reached out to me because of this YouTube channel. So once I switched and went off the Upwork freelancing platform, I found a lot more ways of what I can do to actually attract clients my way. And one of the best ways probably is, and I preach on this channel a lot, is referrals. I work with clients that have a lot of connections. I found a specific type of client that is very well connected and they know a lot of people in the same space. So whenever I offer them service and I provide exceptional experience to them and actually bring value, it's very easy for that client to refer me to others. And half of my freelancing business is built just from the referrals. Again, I have a separate video talking about this, so I'm going to link it in the description. You can check it out with way more details. There is a newsletter that I'm doing, where I'm sharing all of my, things that I learned about freelancing in the last 10 years, the latest strategies that I use, and everything, just latest things that I find, what works these days. So, check it out in the description below. But for now, YouTube algorithm. But if you're not ready for any of this YouTube algorithm things, that you want to watch this video next. So check it out here.